Best games to stream on the entire internet. Perrin, we're going to rank every single game that matters today. How does this tier list work? Walk us through it. People need to watch all the way to the end to get these insights on the best games. Hit me with it.
All right, so we're ranking from S to D tier. The top tier, which is S, will be games that are viable across multiple platforms, namely YouTube, Facebook Gaming, and Twitch. If that game is good to stream on all those platforms, that's S tier. A tier would be like, it's good on YouTube and Facebook Gaming, but maybe not Twitch, so on and so forth. We've already placed some games on this list because we've talked about them a lot in previous episodes, and you guys probably already know, if you've been listening to this podcast, where they belong. Grand Theft Auto 5 is definitely S tier. It's good across all three. So is Freefire. It's huge, blowing up, great on YouTube, Facebook Gaming, and Twitch. Among Us, not doing so hot on pretty much any platform. Its popularity is waned, so it's D tier. And Fortnite, despite its popularity, it's so competitive across every single platform that it's also D tier. Now, the two I wanted to hit that we pre-placed here with you guys are Just Chatting and Podcasts. I placed Just Chatting in B tier because it's mainly good on Twitch, but not so much everywhere else. And Podcasts I put C tier because it's just really okay across all platforms. It's not really blowing up particularly anywhere. Do you guys agree with that?
Yeah, I mean, our definition of B tier here is that it's good on one platform, essentially, and that's about it. And Just Chatting, right now, to my knowledge, and we've covered this extensively, all the numbers, how it's trending, we predicted that Just Chatting would be the #1 category to stream on Twitch in 2021. Ross, I think we were right about that prediction. The numbers came in on that. So I'm comfortable with that being B tier. But the reason why it's not A tier or S tier, I think, is like the hanging out version on Facebook Gaming isn't viable. YouTube doesn't have an option even like this. So B tier on Just Chatting makes sense to me. Ross, do you concur, Doctor?
I concur. Patient.
But what about podcasts, though? We have this as a C tier trend. Everybody says, you should start a podcast. Hillary Clinton just started a podcast. Who knows? Mike Pence is going to start a podcast. Everybody's got a podcast. There's almost 1 million active podcasts in the world right now. Should it even be C tier or should it be D tier in terms of podcasts? It's so hard to break through. We know we've done hundreds of episodes and it's really hard for us to break through with our podcast. So do you think it's C or do you think it's D tier, Ross? I mean, we're trying to help people grow that are small to mid-tier creators, right? Thoughts?
I think there's a fair argument for either one of them, actually. Right now, I probably a stronger argument towards D tier. That goes against what we talked about before the show, Perrin. But it is growing. The category is growing, and it's growing across all the different platforms. The growth is just slow, and you're competing against Just Chatting. So right now, where we stand right now, I guess I do lean a little more D tier. But like I said, I think there's an argument to maybe aim for C.
The argument I'm going to make...
Ooh.
Oh, no, I'm not going to make that argument. Never mind. That's Just Chatting.
You can't tease us like that. You got to make it now. Come on.
There's that.
I'm not going to talk about that. Come on, make the argument.
Well, you guys know the new meta on Twitch right now is being in a swimming pool and doing Just Chatting and visual ASMR, but that's Just Chatting and that's visual ASMR, not podcast. I would actually put podcast as a D tier trend. I think podcasts, in terms, they're oversaturated. We talk about this all the time. We struggle to grow our podcast. We have a niche audience. We love you guys, but we struggle to grow it in a streaming capacity. Also, another factor to keep in mind, brands, companies, media companies, they all are now firing up a podcast as a way to market their company, further saturating. It's not just gamers. Everybody's got an effing podcast using Restream, by the way. A lot of these companies are using Restream because it's easy to use for podcast production. I say it's D tier because it's so freaking crowded. Final word, Perrin, and then we're going to play the ad.
Yeah, I'll agree with that. It's really tough to grow this across all platforms, and you have a universal competition. It's very saturated, and the format is just not super viable on YouTube, Twitch, Facebook Gaming in most cases, unless you're already popular there from something else. Doing podcasts alone isn't going to make you popular there. So let's play the ad.
This podcast is sponsored by Restream. Why live stream to one platform when you can simultaneously live stream to every platform to discover new audiences faster using Restream.io?
And hey guys, we're back and we've got even more juicy games that we're going to be ranking today. Ross, can you pick our next game that we're going to be ranking today on the tier list? Let's just get into it. We got 30 minutes to rank every important game in the whole world. We had better hurry up.
Valheim, let's go.
Valheim. Perrin, you better start. You have the most experience playing this game and researching this game. You've actually tested streaming with it. Perrin, let's start with your opinion. Looks like you're dropping it into C tier is where your gut is going. Tell us about that logic.
So I think it's good for some growth on YouTube, and that's probably its best platform right now. I think it's tough to get viewership and to get anybody to watch it on Twitch. It's just a hard game to watch as a live stream. It's definitely catered more towards video type of content, and it's doing nothing on Facebook gaming. So it having some YouTube search is like its only redeeming value. I put it into a C tier.
Well, but let's look at the numbers. It's not just about our opinions today. Let's look at Twitch tracker and also look at Google Trends. We like to look at the numbers and we like to understand what the search volume is through Google Trends on YouTube search. How is this trend looking, Perrin?
It is definitely moving downwards. It looks like it's plateaued recently. If we maybe zoom in here to past 90 days, we can get an idea. But it has been a general decline since its launch. But it's been a pretty slow decline. But even the search interest has waned quite significantly. But it looks like you can carve out a nice niche there. But I don't know, what else is coming that's going to revive this trend? It's an indie game. It's not going to have a lot of like marketing, points to spike up the interest search-wise, so that's not going to be happening. I just don't really see long-term how this is going to play out as a super streamable game. And this is games to stream too. So, YouTube search might work with videos, but that's actually not what we're rating it on. We're rating on a streamability. I would almost make it D tier.
Look at Twitch Tracker. We need to see Twitch Tracker. So Twitch Tracker will give you the numbers, and this is a tool that all of you guys should consider while you're pulling this up. Twitch Tracker is a great tool. It's free. They don't pay us to say this. Where you can look at, you're always wanting to look at supply versus demand. You want to look at the number of channels that are streaming something or covering something versus the amount of viewership, and that can give you that competition ratio. You want the least amount of competition, the most amount of viewership, and let's break those numbers down for Valheim. What are they?
So in the past 7 days, 365 live channels, 14,190 live viewers. And this is kind of a metric we normally gauge this on, is the viewers per channel.
Yeah.
10.6. That is super low.
That's bad.
Normally you want that to be 25 or more ish if you're like looking for something that's somewhat viable. It being 10.6, this game is dead. The second thing you look at is this, if you look on Twitch Tracker and you look at the graph, you look at the white gap between these two lines, the number of channels and the number of viewers. And if you have a huge gap, that means supply versus demand is bad for you. That means there's lots of channels streaming. The demand isn't there to meet that gap. So, and you have this pretty much consistently during its whole lifetime as it's declining. This thing's D tier, man. I don't see any redeemable value, outside of making videos on YouTube search, which is not what this list is for.
I agree. It looks D tier to me. The competition looks bad. I would say that Valheim, for those of you that want to cover the game, you're like, what? They're crapping all over my game. I think that Valheim is a better game strictly to do as a YouTuber. That's it. Diving deep on YouTubing with this game, dissecting the game, etc., not as a streaming game. I do want to address a question in chat right now. Really quick, I asked people what games do they want us to talk about, and Pockstars asked any VR games other than VR chat. And I just want to quickly address this one. To my knowledge, no VR games are viable in terms of streaming right now. Obviously, VR chat can get some viewership on YouTube, but consistently firing up VR chat and consistently getting viewership across the board, we did not include that here. I think it's early on VR as a trend. I'd love to get your opinion on this, guys, really quick in 30 seconds. But I think 2022, maybe 2023 is when we're going to start seeing VR streams being more viable. Highlight videos on YouTube of fun VR chat interactions, those are viable on YouTube, but somebody watching somebody be in VR chat for an extended period of time, maybe a handful of streamers will be able to do that and make it, but I don't think it's viable across the board. Thoughts, guys?
I agree.
Yeah. I agree. The search interest just isn't there yet. It's only good if you're already popular with something and then you're diving into VR chat, like similar to a very Among Us type of vibe. It's not going to grow you, though, from a small to medium-sized creator standpoint.
Agreed. Yep. Next game.
Let's do League of Legends Wild Rift.
All right.
I want to gauge its popularity across multiple platforms. I just put a B tier. It just, end of last week, launched in the United States, so it's now officially launched across the world. let's take a look at the Google Trends now after it's been a little bit of time and see if it's continuing to.
Yeah, we got to look at the numbers on this because obviously the marketing power of Riot Games along with the League of Legends franchise is a huge factor. How are you liking this growth curve, Ross? I mean, it looks fairly steady. This is YouTube search here. I don't know. It's not as bad as I thought it would be.
It's not as bad as what I thought it would be, but still, I haven't seen any marketing around this game at all. Like literally none whatsoever. And I'm working gaming. I do this stuff every day and haven't seen a thing about it. That worries me more than anything. It's got the League of Legends name, so I understand the spike. I understand this initial spike. I think the question is, with such low latency of marketing, how fast is that going to trend down? And just by looking at this, I feel like it's probably going to trend down within the next month. It's going to probably, in my estimate, it's probably not even going to be in the conversation. Unless they do something, unless they do marketing.
I agree, and I ran this by two of the most prominent, I'd say they're two of the top 5 mobile gaming YouTubers. They're clients of mine. I asked them on my private Discord server for my clients what they thought of the viability of this game, because they only look at mobile games exclusively all day long, and both of them agreed that the game is going to be a mid-tier, maybe middling performance game in terms of YouTubing. But as a game itself, making money, they both think that the game's going to make tons of money, but as a YouTuber and a creator, it's going to be like a low to mid-tier game. So I am, and we can take a look at the streaming numbers here as well, I think that this game is going to be like D tier. I don't think that it's going to be viable, really viable on any platform. It's only going to be slightly viable across a few platforms. This is going to be a niche game for content creators to cover. That's my opinion. D tier probably here. C tier would be very generous. Perrin, thoughts?
So looking at it on Twitch, it's at 27.7 viewers per channel. So it's kind of right in that threshold that it meets the minimum at least. 211 channels in the past 7 days, 8,000 live viewers in the past 7 days. That's actually pretty low. So it has like overall really low viewership.
Given the global launch, I mean, why didn't we see a spike here? To your point, Ross, normally when games get marketed heavily, you're going to see a global launch spike, which just happened in like the last day or two or whatever. Where's the spike? Did the data not come in yet? If they were doing significant marketing, they would have paid a bunch of influencers, right, to be streaming this game on Twitch and on Facebook and everything. We'd see a mega spike here. We just aren't seeing it. So what that means, what that says to me, guys, like I mentioned in our previous episodes, I predicted this is what would happen. When developers don't market a game before it launches, that tells you that they don't have that much confidence in marketing it after it launches. And that's what we're seeing here. And if they're not dropping in millions and millions and millions into influencer marketing to grow on social platforms, where the hell is the viewership going to come from? The answer is nowhere. I think it's D tier, bro.
I think it's D tier as well. I just don't see the growth for all the reasons you listed. It's already oversaturated. It's quite niche, and they staggered the release. So it's already pretty much been available everywhere else in the world. This isn't exciting to them. It's only really exciting in the United States.
Yeah.
Therefore, they kind of minimize the impact of a launch spike by spreading it out like that. I think that's actually kind of a huge marketing mistake to do that. So D tier it is. Let's move on.
Well, let's take a request from chat here, which is on our list. Chat, Chaotic asked for Apex Legends. We do have that on our list.
What I actually want to talk about.
Yeah, great. Let's talk about that one, Chaotic. Let's break that one down for you. Ross wants to talk about it.
I want to talk about it because I love what they're doing with the game. This is a very, very rare case where it's like, hey, EA is doing something really good and really beneficial. Now, the question is whether or not it's going to be good to stream because of what they're adding. They're adding so much new content. They're doing crossovers with Titanfall, which is really cool. But I still don't know if that's going to be enough to make it a popular streaming title across all platforms. I would probably put this at a C tier right now, just because we know what their plans are and we know where they're going, and that gives me a lot of hope. We know that EA is not afraid to throw out a huge marketing budget to pump up their games. I think that this has a little bit of potential, but it's still too early.
Yeah, for me, I mean, we could take a look at the numbers here. I mean, look at what Perrin's got on Twitch Tracker here. There's decent viewership on Twitch, right? But the problem is the number of live channels is super high. And we see the same thing on Facebook Gaming and YouTube as well. This game has a really dedicated community, which is a positive. That's a very big positive. And it's got a dedicated community that's going to stick around with this one for a while, right? The issue here is that it's got high saturation. And so that means that, like, as you can see, guys, the average viewers per channel on Twitch, for example, is 15. That is below what you want. You want to see 30 and above, not below 30. And so for me, this game is kind of like barely viable on all platforms because it's oversaturated everywhere, but it's not at a saturation point like Fortnite where it's like basically impossible to break through. It's just low probability to break through. So for me, this is a C or D tier trend where it's got some traction everywhere, but it's kind of oversaturated everywhere, making it not that viable. It can't go above a C tier in my opinion. Perrin, make the final call here. I'm waffling between C and D tier. Ross thinks C tier. Make the final decision.
I'm gonna go C tier. I don't think it's completely D tier. I do think there's some viability here for it to grow, just because there's a pretty large amount of viewers across all, and that's the thing. It's pretty consistent across all 3 platforms: YouTube, Twitch, and Facebook Gaming. So, but again, it's kind of like you said, the Fortnite angle. The saturation point is a bit high. I don't know, when I zoom in, it's not really correct here on Twitch tracker. But again, you see this gap here on the chart where you have this white space in between the number of channels and the number of active concurrent viewers, and there's no room. There's no room there for people to grow. Although EA having regular marketing spikes, there are periods of time where the viewership demand spikes through. You might be able to catch some growth off that. So there is opportunity, but it's few and far between. C tier's final answer.
C tier final answer. Another person in chat said they wanted us to cover Minecraft. That was a game that they were very interested in us covering here on the episode. So, as you guys know, we are Minecraft shills. We love Minecraft as a trend. Not just because we don't love the game. None of us love the game. But, well, I liked Minecraft Dungeons a lot. I streamed it for a couple hundred hours. But none of us love the core Minecraft game. But what we do love about Minecraft are those beautiful, big natural numbers that have been viable over 10 years across YouTube and streaming platforms. You could argue that YouTube gaming and the whole gaming creator industry wouldn't be where it's at today if it weren't for Minecraft. I might not be sitting here. Matter of fact, all 3 of us might not be sitting here if it weren't for the YouTube channel TGN Minecraft that booted up our gaming network in the first place 10 years ago. Look at this beautiful big natural trend. Ross, do you see an interesting thing here about this trend? After 10 years, what is happening with Minecraft? I mean, seriously, what 10-year trend goes up after 10 years?
After 10 years?
This is crazy.
None. This is a very, very rare case, and that's why we like talking about this game. That after 10 years, like GTA hasn't even done that yet. And that's probably the most S tier game of all S tiers. So the fact that this is trending up, and the fact that the community is still so just massive.
That's YouTube.
I mean, at the very least A tier. Right?
I think it's, at the very least, it is A tier. I think the debate here with us is whether Minecraft is going to be A tier or S tier. So in order for it to be A tier, just to remind everyone, the game needs to be viable on at least 2 platforms for streaming. S tier, it needs to be viable pretty much everywhere. So let's take a look at Twitch. Ash, will break down the numbers for us, buddy.
Well, if you look at in the past, since 2019, this thing has been going up and up and up on Twitch.
Jeez, are you kidding me?
The viewership on Twitch has been just consistently going up. 25.7 viewers per channel, which is like right where you want it to be. It's like right on that cutoff threshold. 4,000 live channels, 47,000 live viewers in the past 7 days. Let's zoom in and see. There's interestingly, there are periods and pockets of time where it is oversaturated, but there are also lots of spikes in here where the viewer demand exceeds the streamer supply quite consistently. This would actually be pretty viable to grow on Twitch, even with pretty big competition, just because there are periods of time where there's just not quite the streamer demand there for the viewership, and it seems to happen pretty regularly. That's pretty huge. We're probably not going to see that very much in our other games. The search interest on YouTube is freaking good. The last thing we have to look at is Facebook Gaming. Where does it lie in Facebook Gaming? And we'll try to see here.
It's usually like a top 15, top 20 game on Facebook Gaming, depending on who's streaming it. Yeah, that's the issue on Facebook Gaming. It's just kind of okay in terms of streaming. So
I'd say
I
it's
don't
the
know.
worst here because the number of followers versus live viewers is really, really bad for Facebook Gaming. 2.6 million versus 2.5K concurrent viewers, at least right now. Pretty bad. So Facebook Gaming, it's really, really weak, but maybe it has room to grow. Just like Twitch, Twitch, it took a while to catch on. It really hasn't caught on Twitch until, 2019 to 2021 here. And this game is old, way older than that. So maybe it's just going to take more time on Facebook Gaming. I bet you it will continue to grow there as well. This thing's got growth across all platforms, but it's weak as it's Facebook Gaming. I could make an argument for S tier. It seems like it's more of an A tier currently, though.
It's A tier. It's A tier because the game, in my opinion, the game is not super viable on Facebook Gaming. Therefore, it is not an S tier game to stream. S tier games are viable on all 3 major streaming platforms. This one is only viable on 2. So let's lock in Minecraft. Unless you have an objection here, Ross, it is a solid A tier title.
Yep.
And for those of you that were asking earlier to rank GTA 5, at the beginning of the episode, we ranked that S tier because it's viable everywhere, and we ranked Freefire as being S tier because that's viable everywhere. Those are the only 2 S tier games we have so far, Minecraft being the only A tier game. Before we dive into the rest of this list, this episode is all about live streaming to multiple platforms at the same time. Twitch, Facebook Gaming, and YouTube, and measuring the viability of all 3 of those. But why guess whether the game is going to work for you on all 3 of those platforms when you could stream on all of them at the same time and just find out by the books? Ross, is there some sort of technology solution that puts money in our bank account to talk about them that our audience could use to test out these games?
I don't know if the money ever goes to our bank account. It pretty much goes right back out the door as soon as we get
reinvest every dollar. Yeah.
But yeah, we would not be doing this podcast if it were not for Restream.io. Stop streaming to all platforms and start streaming to all of them. I don't know why I just messed that up. Stream to all of them. Literally, an article in the comments here just said that he's picking up a lot of traction on Trovo. That's great. That's one of those platforms that not a lot of people have heard of, but they still got an audience, and you can still break through there, and you can stream there using Restream with just the click of a button. And put the link in the comments. You get 30% off your first month. By signing up using that link, you do help support the podcast, and we appreciate it. Perrin, what is next on our list?
Call of Duty Mobile. I'm going to just toss this into B tier, and then we'll adjust and take a look. This is one that's a larger trend on Facebook Gaming. It seems like it's got some decent YouTube search. We know some creators who are blowing up there a little bit. But is it universal? Maybe it's bigger than that. I don't know. Well, you have some experience working with some of your clients in this game. What's your take?
Yeah, I work with multiple Call of Duty mobile creators, and obviously we study guys like iFerg, JHC Gaming, the Chatty Pug, guys that have covered this. I streamed it for a couple hundred hours. And the bottom line is this about Call of Duty Mobile. This game is going to be rock solid. I mean, look at this trend right here. Look at this beautiful big natural trend. Call of Duty Mobile on YouTube in terms of worldwide search. It has been going up, but only a little bit, right? Since over the time. It's just consistently kind of going up and staying steady. So this is a trend on YouTube that's going to be holding steady for a long time. Why? This is the important thing for all of you guys to know. It's holding steady on YouTube because of money. So mobile games stay popular when companies pump millions every month into the game. Not to mention it's got seasonal content that's AAA content. Like, these are premium skins, premium guns, new modes, new maps. They are really supporting the game. And then when you look at the Twitch numbers, this is a very bad story, though. So let's cover the Twitch side of things. So YouTube, super viable. Twitch, yikesy McYikesy pants. This is a classic example of what you don't want to see. Break it down.
5.4 viewers per channel. 216. Look at this. 216 live channels with only 875 live viewers in the past 7 days. Nobody is watching this on Twitch, and tons of people are streaming it. Look how wide the gap is between the number of people wanting to watch and the number of people streaming. It's just
let's break this down for people, because Perrin, we go into the numbers so much on Twitch Tracker, guys. People asking very specific things, right? When the blue line is the number of channels, and the green lines that you see down there are the number of viewers. So what you want optimally is the blue line to be under the green line.
Correct.
Not over the green line. So if the blue line is under the green line, that means that there are more viewers than channels. If the blue line is above the green line, that means that there are more channels than viewers. So in this case, this is the worst case scenario for a game forever. So definitely not viable on Twitch. This is a horrible trend for Twitch. Facebook Gaming, though, is a different story. I streamed it on Facebook Gaming, and ever since, Digital Drop Podcast is the most influential source for information about Facebook Gaming. That's not saying much, but it is. And we turned people on to Call of Duty Mobile, and a bunch of creators here went and covered it. Some of them are doing it in a really viable way. COD Mobile is a solid trend to cover on Facebook Gaming. It just is. I went from 0 to 150 concurrent viewers on average really fast with this title. It has become more saturated, but it's still a game you can grow with. And most importantly, this is a game that stays in the top 10 on Facebook Gaming, and you can restream it, as we saw earlier, to YouTube because it's viable on both YouTube and on Facebook Gaming. So for me, Call of Duty Mobile, by our own measurements, is an A-tier trend because it's viable on 2 platforms, but it is not viable on one, which is Twitch. It's A-tier just like Minecraft. Do you guys agree or disagree?
Yeah, the numbers don't lie here. So I'm going to go with that as well. Facebook Gaming, if you look, it has about the exact same following as Minecraft does, but way, way, way more viewers. It is getting more saturated over time there on Facebook Gaming. So as more people are listening to this podcast, they realize they should stream Call of Duty Mobile.
We're so influential.
Sorry, streamers out there. So it will eventually probably bump down to B tier. So I would say its long-term ability is not great, but right now it's A tier.
Makes sense. We have 12 minutes to rank these games, so we need to go speed round. Ross, push us through. We've got to finish, Ross. Take control. Take control.
Roblox. Taking control.
All right.
Roblox.
All right. Roblox, if you guys are not already familiar, is a game that is like Minecraft, but they added a marketplace for custom games, and they just went IPO, which means they got a huge influx of cash. That's very good for Roblox, and we're seeing that in this bump here in the Google Trends numbers. What's the numbers look like?
Just crazy growth. We've never seen a growth curve like this one on YouTube. Its biggest and strongest asset for this game is definitely YouTube. However, let's take a look at Twitch. I know we got to go through this.
Yeah, but that's YouTube search. Not that many people watch Roblox streams on YouTube, though.
True.
That's
That's actually a big difference. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you're talking about the kids market now, and that's huge for streamers.
Yeah, but I hear you. But people watch Roblox videos. They don't watch Roblox streams on YouTube. Just saying. Now, I think it's possible to build a Roblox channel. It looks like it's, I don't know, there's like Twitch tracker issues here. Here we go. What? Did they just change the website? Oh, okay, got it. But I know that on YouTube, viewership for Roblox is usually below 1,000 concurrents. So YouTube, bad for streaming Roblox. Making videos, great. But streaming, terrible. Roblox on Twitch, yikes. Bad.
Really
bad.
We could just
Tons
say of people are streaming it.
Bad.
But
Okay.
the viewership is just not there.
Facebook Gaming is also bad for Roblox. So I would
might actually be like
it's a D tier game.
Surprising.
D tier game.
I was surprised. I would not have thought that Roblox was going to be D tier.
It's D tier just for streaming.
Numbers don't lie.
For YouTubing, it's like A or S tier. But for streaming, it's bad. Next game.
Overwatch.
All right, so Overwatch.
Overwatch is C tier. Next game.
Okay.
Simple enough.
Like you guys just trust me on it. I built a 1 million subscribers Overwatch channel, and I text with the game director of Overwatch. I know everything. It's C tier. Next game.
World of Warcraft.
World of Warcraft also. That one's interesting. I think that one is C tier because it is viable to stream if you can build a YouTube audience for it and then drive over to Twitch. It's one of these kind of like, if you can carve out a niche of people that'll watch you with World of Warcraft, they will stay around forever because of the type of audience that World of Warcraft attracts. However, attracting that audience in the first place is incredibly difficult. So I would say there is some viability in terms of streaming. As you can see here on the Twitch numbers, 25 viewers per channel is not bad. And this trend has been around for, 10 years at this point? So I would say that Twitch streaming for World of Warcraft is viable if you can drive traffic from YouTube, but it's only viable on one platform, not 0 platforms. So it's a C trend. Guys, thoughts on that?
Agreed.
The thing I'd add is it's just with Blizzard games, it's really, really hard to get into the streaming culture and break into an already kind of like solidified base of creators there. It's really hard to break in. But if you're able to, it's C tier. Outside of that, yeah, I don't think there's anywhere else to put it. Let's move on.
Mobile Legends, just put it somewhere. You are like Mobile Legends expert. Where does it go?
Mobile Legends, I mean, I actually have to look across multi-platforms. It is not, you're not going to grow on YouTube streaming with Mobile Legends at all. You can't grow on Facebook gaming. Twitch, I have seen decent growth, but it plateaus after a while. So since it's good on 2 out of 3, but I'd say it's definitely getting more saturated over time too. I'm actually going to put it B tier.
B tier? Done. People are asking about Outriders. We will cover Outriders in the future. We did not cover it right now because there's not enough data yet. We want to see what the post-launch hype is for that game, okay? We need more data before we talk about games. Next game.
Let's do Dead by Daylight. This one, I'm not really sure on across the board.
I'd like to see the numbers on this one.
Yeah, we need the numbers on Dead by
on
Daylight. This one's an interesting one that like doesn't follow the same format as games before it, and so we really need to look at the numbers here.
It is a very stable trend, super flat line. Nothing is shaking this thing in the past 3 years. It's just like the same across the board. So
it's not a bad thing.
Not a bad thing. It's not really growing, but it's not changing either. So let's check Twitch. I'm not sure. And the last one that will be the big question mark is Facebook gaming on this one. 16.6 average viewers per channel.
Yeah.
It's not looking great.
I don't know. It's like okay over here. It's not great. I'd say this is below par. It's not terrible, but it's below par on Twitch.
It's below par. It looks like it's been getting more saturated by streamers as time goes on here.
Yeah.
And the viewership is like waning a little bit.
Yeah.
Facebook gaming, if we just look really, really quick, we'll see if we see any sort of number out here that indicates us. I don't even know if I'm going to find it high up on this list.
No, on Facebook gaming, it's not really a big streamed game. And I'm going to pull it. You guys can't see it. I'm going to pull it on top of the screen here, but I've got Dead by Daylight here on YouTube gaming. It's got about 5,000 concurrent viewers on YouTube gaming right now. It's not awful, but it's not good either. It seems like it's a middling, like C tier trend.
Yeah.
Like it's kind of like okay-ish. I don't know. I kind of want to put it in D tier because it's not viable on any platform. It's kind of like below par everywhere. Does that, like, do we really want to put something in C tier that's below par everywhere? It needs to be viable at least in one place, right?
Define below par though, because below par doesn't mean impossible.
All right.
Most of those games in the D tier, I would label as pretty close to impossible.
Okay, it's not impossible. I think if you restream this game across all these platforms, it's possible to grow with it with Dead by Daylight. But if you go with one, it's a really you're not going to get anywhere. I would say C. It would C tier, low C minus tier. Parent. Okay. What do you think?
Yeah, it definitely feels like a C tier. It's definitely not on the level of like Mobile Legends or just chatting for sure. So
okay,
it's definitely below that level. Okay, let's move on. Let's do League of Legends. Where does this lie after so many years?
God, well, we got a lot of experience with this game. We've run Mobile Legends tournaments, been on the front page of Twitch, TGN League of Legends. We made tons of videos about that, tens of millions of views. I put a couple thousand hours into this, but man, this trend just keeps going down, 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 but it's still a big, actually it's consistent. This decrease here in the numbers is actually because of YouTube's data change. It's just been a consistent trend here for now like 10 years in terms of search. Biggest esports game ever. I want to know how saturated it is on Twitch in terms of streaming. I would assume it's very saturated and the numbers are going to be bad, but let's take a look at the reality of this. Whoa, hold
the viewers per channel is actually super high. But there's a lot of viewers. That's the thing. There's just a lot of viewers. 205,000 viewers in the past 7 days, over 4,432 channels. If you look at the saturation, it is not good, though. It is actually really, really bad.
Look how separated that blue line is from the green line, guys. Remember that? You don't want the blue line above the green line. That's bad. I don't know. I would say that, like, League of Legends is one of these games. I've advised people, like, 7 years after the games come out, you can grow on YouTube with the YouTube channel with it, but growing a stream with it, very, very difficult to do because you're competing with literally the best players in the entire world for gameplay streams. Like literally the best esports players in the world are playing this game because it's the most viable financially. So it's really tough to break through on for sure. I don't know. I'm thinking League of Legends is C tier. It's not impossible, but it's certainly not good. What do you think,
There's
Ross?
a lot of ways to create content around it too, especially as a live streamer. There's like be amazing at the game, and that's about it. Like I don't really know how else, unless you become super knowledgeable about the game. I don't see how you break in. So yeah, probably. I mean, almost. Can we make an argument for D tier?
I make an argument for D tier. I think there's too many live viewers for that though. I mean, that's just a massive amount.
The size of the pie is so. Yeah, I don't know. I would say. I
agree. I think low C tier on this one too.
C minus tier. Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice. Okay.
Question from chat really quick. They're asking, where is Call of Duty Warzone? So we didn't include Warzone here because just Call of Duty, like whatever the next Call of Duty game kind of fits the bill for that. And generally speaking, the next Call of Duty game is going to be a C tier game where you're going to have one C or B tier game where you can break through with Call of Duty. Maybe on one, maybe multiple platforms, but the problem is the competition is so insanely high for the latest PC Call of Duty game. I'd probably put it in C tier across the board. So I would say that's why we like the mobile version of Call of Duty more. It's viable everywhere. It has more marketing money, and the mobile version of Call of Duty is going to be around for 10 years. Whereas the PC versions will continue to change, and the audience will continue to flip, and you'll have a lot of volatility there. So I don't like Call of Duty as a franchise. I did not include it here. I would call it C tier, though, to answer your question in chat. Next game, Ross, if you got to bounce in 2 minutes, just bounce, and Perrin and I will finish the episode.
Oh,
Next
good.
game.
Let's do PUBG.
PUBG Mobile. We'll start PUBG Mobile. We know that one's huge on Facebook Gaming, and it's growing elsewhere. Awal, can you take a look at YouTube streaming, and I'll take a look at the search here?
I'll take a look at YouTube streaming for, this is just regular PUBG, right?
No, we're doing mobile first.
We're doing PUBG Mobile? PUBG. You got it. So there's a difference, obviously, between these two trends in terms of viewership, worldwide versus domestic. Obviously, it looks like Ross had to bounce, but when you look at PUBG Mobile worldwide trend, it looks like it's going up here in terms of YouTube search, which is pretty solid. That's great.
Just across the past, 4 years or so. It's
but
general
in terms of YouTube live viewership, PUBG Mobile, right now Arena of Valor is #1, but usually PUBG Mobile and Freefire are like the top 2 games. Right now in the morning here in the United States, and people are asleep worldwide, 44,000 concurrent viewers playing this game. PUBG Mobile is usually a massive trend on YouTube, usually much higher viewership for the mobile version of PUBG on YouTube versus the regular PC version because of the size of the potential audience. The PC version has a bit of a middling, if you will, live viewership on YouTube because it's limited to hardcore PC players, and there's only a certain small amount of those on the platform. Regular PUBG is way down here with only 5,000 concurrent viewers, whereas PUBG Mobile has 44,000 currently. That kind of lets you know the difference between those two trends. What else you want to look at in terms of PUBG Mobile, amigo?
Well, we know on Facebook Gaming it's crazy huge, and there's a ton of following. There's also a lot of streamers, so it's very well easily saturated or oversaturated on Facebook Gaming. Twitch, very, very bad across the board. 15.6 average viewers per channel. Over only 1,000 live viewers in the past 7 days. And look at this gap. Look at this huge.
That is the biggest channel to that's the biggest channel to viewership gap we've seen in terms of Twitch. People are asking, when are we going to do a tier list for Twitch games? We already did that. So look at our YouTube channel. We literally already have that episode out on our Digital Drop Podcast YouTube channel. We're doing these for all these platforms individually. So go to our channel and just chug all of our videos because they're the best videos on the subject because we're the only one covering this. Why is no one covering which games are good to stream? I don't know. But anyway, it looks like PUBG Mobile is not going to be as high up on the list as I thought it would be. Same thing with regular PUBG. They're looking like C or D tier trends.
They're actually looking pretty bad.
Yeah, they're looking pretty bad.
Look at regular PUBG real quick on Twitch because we know that's huge on Twitch.
They changed the logo there to this like pixel one.
Yeah.
Regular PUBG looks somewhat better, but still bad in terms of Twitch streaming by the numbers here.
Yeah, it's still not good. So despite it being a growing YouTube search trend, maybe it's streamable a little bit viable on YouTube. Elsewhere, it's just so big and hyper competitive that it's actually like possibly D tier. In my mind.
Yeah, but let's take a look at Facebook gaming, because PUBG Mobile on Facebook gaming is a huge game. So go ahead and pull up the numbers there. I think that PUBG itself, D tier. PUBG Mobile might be C tier. I think PUBG Mobile is more viable. That's where I would put it. PUBG Mobile C tier, because it's somewhat viable. Oopsie doopsie. It is somewhat viable to stream on a couple platforms, whereas regular PUBG is not viable to stream anywhere. And if you don't already have an audience for regular PUBG, good luck breaking through streaming it. It's so highly saturated, and the dudes that stream this game have been streaming it for like 5 years or whatever. That's where I'm at with these trends. Perrin, do you agree or disagree?
I completely agree. This would be hard to break in on those already established trends. Let's just finish this off. We got two very similar
really
games.
quick before we finish it off, want to thank Maulids in chat for the $4 super chat. Great education team, he says. Thank you very much for the financial support. As we mentioned earlier, we are making $0 from this podcast in profit because we reinvest every dollar back into the podcast because we're psychotic. So thank you for the financial support. The money that you just donated to us through Super Chat will be reinvested back into editing, thumbnails, and improving the production quality for the show. Counter-Strike Global Offensive, otherwise known as CSGO, a game that I played in college, and I am a middle-aged man. This game has been around for freaking ever. What's the viability on Twitch?
Very saturated. It does have 46.5 average viewers per channel.
That's pretty
If
good.
you can like break through, you could really grow well. But it's got a lot of live viewers in the past 7 days, 187,000 across about 2,000 channels. Just the saturation. Well, when I zoom in, it actually looks a little bit better. But saturation, it's kind of insane here. We also know the viewership gets pumped because of esports. So if you're not doing esports, this is a bit skewed data-wise, because we know the viewership demand is for something very specific.
Yeah.
And if you're not doing that very specific thing, this is actually a little bit of an illusion for us studying the data. We have to understand that.
It's an illusion. But we look at that blue line versus green line real quick on that. It's interesting because I'll zoom in real quick. At some points, the viewership does spike over the number of channels. So don't be tricked by that. That's the illusion he's talking about. That's when the esports events are dropping, guys. That's when that like one channel on Twitch has like 100,000 viewers. So don't be tricked by that and think that that could be you. That's only like the ESL's official channel and stuff like that, okay? Back to you, Perrin.
So then the last one would be to look at Facebook gaming and to see where it goes there. So I think we could say for Twitch, it's not looking great. For YouTube search, it's like super flat line. I don't really see what people would be searching for that one on YouTube.
Yeah, it's no
and
bueno,
I don't even
man.
know if it's a blip on the radar here on Facebook gaming.
2,000 concurrents. Yeah.
Well, 1.3 million for 2.1. It's
hold
got
on.
a ton of followers.
Say what the number is. Yeah, so on YouTube, so this is Facebook gaming. It has 1.3 million followers, but only has 2,000 concurrent viewers. That disparity between those numbers shows what? That this is just a disengaged community, essentially?
That there's a lot of followers and interest, but not a lot of live viewership. So, and that's because on Facebook gaming, there just aren't the esports events. That's why people like Counter-Strike Global Offensive, CSGO. They like to watch the esports, even for people who don't even play the game. So most of the viewership interest is coming from that. That's literally like, that really skews the data. I actually think it's either C or D tier.
I would say CSGO is D tier because you can't really just stream it anywhere and break through unless it's one of these games kind of like League of Legends, I guess you could say, where your skill needs to be so high for you to even have a chance to break through with the game, or you need to be so wildly entertaining. I don't know. It's like somewhat viable as a YouTuber title to make videos about, but streaming it and growing, it's D tier, dude. I'm not seeing any opportunity anywhere. And guys, I'm going to pull it up. You can't see it right now, but if you look at the current concurrent viewers for this game on YouTube, it's only 4,000 at the moment, and so unless there's an esports event going, it's not really there. I'm out. It's a D tier game. For those reasons, I'm out on CSGO. Next game.
Last one, Valorant, which is a very similar title. You know, this is Shroud's kind of game of choice on Twitch. We do see a nice pocket of growth here. Let me zoom in on the trend a little bit more to get an idea of how it's been like in the past year. Very slight growth though in the past year across YouTube search worldwide. So that's promising that that trend is looking good there.
Looking good. It didn't die off. Like that's like,
Yeah.
I mean, almost every game that comes out just dies after it launches. The fact that this one's going up slightly in terms of YouTube search, really good. Valorant, oh, gross.
Oh my God.
Oh no, look at this, guys. Audience, type in chat. We want to make sure that you're learning here. What about this picture that you're looking at right now on Twitch Tracker is bad? Type it into chat right now. I want to make sure you guys are paying attention. What is bad about what you see on the screen right here? Okay? Type it into chat. All right, Perrin, break down these numbers, dude. Gross.
All right, 23.7 average viewers per channel, just a little bit below that kind of par there. 90,000 viewers in the last 7 days, over 3,734 channels. We know the viewers are expanded though because Shroud brings a ton of viewership here. So a lot of that viewership is coming to one channel. So it's skewing these numbers a bit. I bet you this, if Shroud did not stream this game, that average viewers per channel would be a lot lower even than that.
I agree.
Right there.
I agree.
But the biggest thing here is this huge gap between the number of viewers.
And it looks like chat has been paying attention, bro. They're saying blue is higher. Yeah. And Narnicle says the blue and green lines are too far apart. That's right. That's exactly what, as soon as we saw those lines separated there, when you guys are doing your research, run as fast as you can. All right, Valorant on Facebook Gaming. What do you see, bro?
This actually looks good on Facebook Gaming. This is actually one of the best ones we've seen on Facebook Gaming, I would say. We're not even to 1 million followers, and it's at 7K viewers. And I just want to make sure there's no like live events or anything today that's skewing the numbers here real quick. I don't think they really do any esports, or there's really no esports for it yet. And that is kind of the question mark. Is this is a game that's very much esport potential, and that hasn't landed yet. So when it does, it's going to blow up viewership even more. And for those who have solidified their presence in the game that expansion, yeah, that could be a big moment for them. So this one actually has a lot more viability because it looks like it's really, really good on Facebook Gaming. It's got growing interest on YouTube search. Its Twitch is not viable. I actually, placed it here in B tier just as a gut feeling. I actually want to keep it there. What do you think?
Well, let's look at YouTube Gaming right now in terms of live viewership. Only 4,000 concurrent viewers on YouTube Gaming, but the trend has been going up. So I would say that it is viable in that you could release content on YouTube for the game as it's going up, build an audience on YouTube, and then occasionally stream to that main YouTube channel that you've built for Valorant and get maybe hundreds of concurrent viewers depending on how many views you get off your Valorant videos. So your YouTube streaming strategy would be very dependent on building a engaged subscriber base for your videos there. So I'm thinking B tier as well. I'm thinking this game is viable on Facebook Gaming and it's viable on YouTube Gaming, but it is not viable on Twitch, making it B tier. I'd say it's somewhat viable on YouTube, definitely viable on Facebook Gaming, and not viable on Twitch. I don't feel comfortable putting it in A tier. No. It's not a slam dunk on two platforms, so it's kind of a B tier game. I think that's where we're landing on it, huh?
Yeah, it's got future potential too, so it could blow up even more in the future. With, like I said, with the expansion of esports. So B tier feels like a good cozy fit. That's all the games. I know we're missing Outriders. Could we maybe just do like an honorable mention for Outriders real quick, even though we don't have it pasted on this list?
That's fine. We can do an honorable mention for Outriders. I've been following the game very closely. I played the demo for about 20 or 30 hours. Been following. As you can see, guys, this is why we're not covering it here, right? Like, there's so little data.
Yeah.
I don't know. It launched, and as you can see, it's plateaued on YouTube search, which is good, actually. But we don't know if it's going to crash here soon. It hasn't been out long enough to know if there's going to be the post-launch crash. That's why we're not wanting to make any conclusions about Outriders. In terms of Twitch streaming, as you can see, so little data about Outriders. It is spiking here with the launch, but then it is slowly decreasing over time with like okay, if not below par numbers in terms of Twitch viewership. Not looking too promising here, huh, Perrin?
I will say it did not peak very high, which, normally that kind of, you need a pretty high initial launch spike for it to be like at least an average consistent trend afterwards. It did not peak very high. I think it was supposed to capture this Destiny 2 audience, and I just don't think it has done that.
Well, it didn't peak high because you couldn't log into the game at launch. So this is an issue where I think the peak could have been double what it currently was, But this was just like that failed launch that you and I were a part of for Diablo 3, where everybody was trying to log in when the game came out, and then days, plural, days went by when people couldn't even play the game. No offline mode either. So I think that kind of crushed this peak down much lower than it would have been. And then if we look at Facebook gaming, I think it's not even on the radar at all. And if it was, it will just continue to plummet down the list in terms of games and what viewership. I mean, look how far we're going down the list here to try to find Outriders. Is it even there at all?
It's down here. Down here, 11.7K followers, 433 viewers. It's just gonna go. It's not gonna grow from there. This isn't the type of game that will grow on Facebook gaming.
No.
I actually think it's like this doesn't look like it had the launch punch that it needed. I think it's a D tier. I think it's gonna be a pretty dead game here in the next year or so.
I would say that it is C tier, and here's why. You could build a YouTube audience around this game and stream to your YouTube channel and have a live audience only on YouTube. This game is not going to be viable on Twitch. It's not going to be viable on Facebook gaming, but it will be viable on YouTube for a while. And you will be like one of the only YouTubers covering the game longer term here. So you're going to have to ride it out and wait until the big YouTubers drop it. And then you could soak up the remaining audience with this game and get like hundreds of concurrent viewers, like maybe like 300, 400 concurrent viewers on YouTube, North American audience, and actually make a living off of it. So if you're the one that decides to ride it out here, you could do it. So I would say it's not impossible to make it with this game. It's like a C- with this game. And here's the other kicker with the game, Perrin. They are not making it a live service. And so they say they might do DLCs for the game. They might do a sequel. They're waiting to see on quote-unquote community reaction. So if that means they didn't even start developing new content for the game, makes it... Nope, I just changed my mind. It's D tier. It's D tier. Like if they're saying they haven't even committed to even making new content in the game, they're thinking about it, that means new content is like a year out, maybe 4 years out.
Drive search interest
in terms of a sequel. It's a D tier game, guys. Look, as a game, great game. It's an A game. In terms of creator viability, D. Streaming. For streaming, it's a D tier game. Making videos about it, I'd say it's like a C tier game. Cool. That is our final list. Review the top picks for our audience so they can know which ones are the most viable games to stream across all platforms.
Okay, starting with S tier, which means it's viable across YouTube, Facebook Gaming, and Twitch. Grand Theft Auto 5, Freefire are the only two to hit S tier. They're just good across all of them. A tier means they're good at mostly 2 out of the 3. Minecraft, Call of Duty Mobile, they're solid pickups there. B means they're probably viable on just one. Maybe they'll have some viability on more in the future. Just Chatting, Mobile Legends, and Valorant. C tier means they pretty much aren't... They have a little bit of viability somewhere, but it's not that great. Apex Legends, Overwatch, World of Warcraft, Dead by Daylight, League of Legends, PUBG Mobile, all on that tier.
Those are all meh. That's like a meh tier.
It's a very meh tier, yeah. And the D tier is just definitely not going to be great to stream pretty much anywhere. Among Us, Fortnite, podcasts.
That's what we're doing. We're stupid.
League of Legends, The Wild Rift. Yeah, we're super smart, guys. Roblox, normal PUBG, and CS:GO. Man, that's a pretty thick D tier down there.
That's a thick D tier. So S tier games, Grand Theft Auto 5 and Free Fire, guys. How many times do we have to tell you? Grand Theft Auto 5 and Free Fire are the hottest games, the highest probability games for you guys to go full-time as a gaming content creator with. If you hate them, don't force yourself to play them. But if you like them at all, I would consider investing your time into those titles. Thank you so much for watching. We really appreciate it.